This week's episode of the Ag State of Mind podcast is brought to you by Mystic Lubricants. For a look at their full range of top quality products, visit mysticlubes.com.
Welcome to Ag State of Mind, a podcast that examines the stresses affecting producers of agriculture and how to alleviate these stresses and improve farmers' lives. In this podcast, we discuss openly the mental health crisis that is occurring in the agricultural community and what we can do to help turn it around. Now here's your host, Jason Meadows.
Since 1922, Mystic Lubricants has been providing superior performance and protection for farmers who demand the most out of their equipment. Today, Mystic continues to develop products in real-world conditions that are specially formulated to meet the unique demands of your specialized machines. They provide advanced protection for engine longevity.
Hello,
and
friends, and welcome back to the Ag State of Mind podcast, a proud member of the Global Ag Network. I am your host, as always, Jason Meadows, and today I'm going to talk about mental health in my ranching business. But before we get started there, I'm very excited to announce a new project that my boys and I have come up with. This is really cool for me. We are going to be starting our own YouTube channel. Now, it's going to be a lot about everyday life on the farm. It's going to be videos of us working cows, us moving cows, us riding horses, and even like some non-farm things too, working out, playing ball, just that sort of thing. Just kind of give you a different perspective of our life as a family. So go to my YouTube channel, Ag State of Mind, hit the subscribe button, hit the notifications button, and that way you'll be notified anytime we post a video. I'm really excited for this, and I'm going to tell you why I'm excited. A lot of the other boys, not Levi, Carter, Boone, it's easy to get them involved in the farm. They really enjoy it. Cooper, not so much. And I struggle with that because I love Cooper just like the rest of the boys. But I would love for him to be more involved on the farm. And you should have seen his eyes light up when I came up with those ideas. Like, oh yeah, Dad, I'm going to love this. I'm going to be the cameraman, blah, 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 blah. I just felt so excited. This is what we need to do, all this. And and it's just like, it was a great way for him to be involved and enjoy being involved. So that's a big reason why I started this, is just to have more family time, more family involvement, because that's what I'm about. I'm about family. That's my... That's where I get my energy. That's where I feel like I'm doing the most important things. So yeah, that's where we're starting. We're going to start a YouTube channel. I don't know where it's going to go. I think it'll be fun for the boys and I. So, all right, on to today's podcast. So again, my podcast this week is mental health in my ranching business. And where did this idea come from a podcast? Well, it came from my friend August Horseman. August and I are actually, in a couple of weeks, having a podcast together. He's starting his own podcast, Grazed in America, and he wanted to talk to me about how my implementation of biomimicry in ranching has helped with my mental health, and mostly about how working with nature and not against it has been so good for me. And, I'm going to talk a little bit about this. For so many, and I'm on a cow-calf operation, so a big part of what I do is calving season. And calving in sync with nature versus out of sync with nature has been so helpful for my mental health. So you see so many people calving in January, February to get those bigger calves in the fall. And I can understand the need to do that. And even the guys out west, I can see west and north of here, I can understand why they do that. Because first of all, calving in the wintertime is better than calving in the mud season in the spring. And then a lot of those guys out there are row croppers, and they're busy with plant in the spring, so they calve in the winter. Yeah, I don't do any of that stuff. And we are blessed with better weather here as far as more conducive to a calving operation. So there's no reason for me to calve in the wintertime, other than the bigger calves at weaning. But I mean, is that really worth the stress that it causes to go out all the time, check calves, make sure there's no calves frozen to the ground and that sort of thing? I mean, it's just much better. Less mortality, obviously. Less calves are going to get frozen and die. There's less input because there's less time. Gives me more time for other things, and it just is very mind clearing. And then also, it's better forage support for lactating mothers. We don't have to put that input into fed feed costs. We'll talk about that here in a minute. We don't have to feed them as much hay. We get to let them eat, harvest their own forage more. Because their energy inputs are going to be higher when they're lactating, obviously, and it's better for them to harvest their own, when the grass is still growing, than it is for me to feed them fed feed. So, and another thing that really my friend Clay Connery, host of the Working Cows podcast, helped me understand one time is, why don't we look at the deer? How do the deer here in my country are the closest relatives to cattle that live in the wild, that are completely non-domesticated, and they give us a good representation of how we should manage our cow herds. And I got to see, well, when do they fawn? And they fawn May through July, and we should emulate that as much as possible, because that's going to give us a good idea of what nature should look like. Now, I'm a little off from there. I've been calving April through June now, and that gives me for a couple of reasons. It gets us out of the hot weather. Hot weather kind of with flies and things, can be kind of hard. And just, again, lining up with my time, we do still put up our own hay, and usually by when we're finishing up calving in June, that's when we start. In July, a lot of times we're really heavy into it. So that's a big reason why I just move it up a month from where the deer are. So, but it really, again, it's a really good way for us to look at how we should calve, is looking at what the deer do here in our part of the country. And in other parts of the country, it's buffalo, it's elk, even further north, it's moose. So I mean, looking at how other ruminants who live in the wild are giving birth to their young, that's what we should emulate. And again, I talked more about this just a minute ago, about less mechanical harvesting of feed, and that's in our operation. It's grazing. We are trying to manage grazing more. A friend of mine, a hero of mine, Bert Teichert, one time when I read his article religiously in the back of Beef Magazine, and he said, every time a piece of machinery comes between the growing grass and the cow's mouth, you're losing money. So it's really important for that cow to be able to harvest her own feed, because it's, again, you put a piece of machinery between that feed and that cow's mouth, you're losing money. So this is a big paradigm for me. A book that I have really enjoyed is a book called Kicking the Hay Habit by Jim Garish. And he talked about how he was here in Missouri too, especially, it's a big part is putting up your own hay, and spending the money on all this hay equipment and whatnot, and how that's not even necessary. And it is possible to graze 365 days per year. Now, I haven't gotten there yet, but we do still put up some of our own hay, but most part, I've been really mindful of trying not to do that and working more towards that. And that's not having to have all that time and stress. It's less financial input, so that means less stress. More money and time for other enterprises. Man, it's just so helpful. And the last thing I'll kind of go into here, and I talked about this a little bit more with the YouTube channel, is involving the family. The family is in my eyes, not in my eyes, I think is intended to be the most important relationship and unit we have on this earth is our nuclear family. I believe that with 100% of my heart. And to involve everybody together in the farm to do just that is really important to me. I love my boys, I love my wife, and I want to have them involved in what we do. And one thing that we've been doing the last couple of years that's been so helpful for our morale, for really the relationship with especially Carter and I, is Carter and Levi both have been using horses to help me get up cows. And man, it's just so cool because it's fun. Being fun as a family to do all this stuff together is very important. I'm not sure you could really speak to the financial tangible benefits of it, but the overall attitude and the willingness of people to help when you make it fun, that is super important. And our family has a legacy of horses, and having horses involved here, it just helps me feel like I'm contributing to that legacy, and not just contributing, but paying respect and homage to it. That makes me feel very fulfilled, and feeling fulfilled is part of good mental health and also of a good ranch enterprise. And we talked about it again with the YouTube channel. That's another thing, bringing it all the way back around, is keeping it fun, keeping it interesting, but also keeping it moving in the right direction, evolving. If you become stale and stagnant, you will start to die. And that's the last thing we want to do in this ranch business. Is we want to keep going. We want to keep going into the next generations and keep this operation going for generations down the road to enjoy. So that's where I am with my mental health on my ranching business. And I'm very looking forward. Probably when this podcast comes out, August and I will already have recorded. We have a Saturday in December that we have set to record. Very excited for that because I look up to August so much. It's funny I say that. August is actually younger than me, but I see him as a mentor in trying to be more mindful and implement more regenerative practices onto my ranch, and he does such an incredible job of that. And I'm looking forward to getting together with him, and I'm going to visit his farm, see how he does things, and then we're going to sit down and record a podcast. And this is really cool because it's going to be the first in-person podcast that I've done, and I'm very, very much looking forward to that. So, all right, guys, call to action today. Go out, find my YouTube channel. I'm going to link it in my link tree on my Instagram bio. Go find it there. Looking so forward to this, and I hope it's something that you all will find value in, and just another cool thing from our family. So, all right, guys, have a great week. I'll talk to you again soon.
Since 1922, Mystic Lubricants has been providing superior performance and protection for farmers who demand the most out of their equipment. Today, Mystic continues to develop products in real-world conditions that are specially formulated to meet the unique demands of your specialized machines. They provide advanced protection for engine longevity and are the choice of people who make a living working the land. Learn more about Mystic products at mysticlubes.com. That's MYSTIK lubes.com.
Thanks for listening to Ag State of Mind. We hope this episode has encouraged you. Be sure to follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Ag State of Mind. And don't forget to subscribe to this podcast on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, or Spotify so you never miss an episode. See you next week.